wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it.
Jake has had double jaw surgery, 4 plates, 8 screws in his face, and everybody is just kind of breezing past that like it's no big deal. But I'm looking further into this because that's no easy surgery, and I'm starting to ask the question, is this the beginning of the end of Jake Paul's boxing career?
As his brother, I was just shocked. I'm in the hospital with the guy, and he's like, yo, can you make this TikTok? Can you film this for me? He's like laughing and having a good time.
Having the agenda against Anthony Joshua, because it feels to me like that fight, before the fight, I was refusing to accept the principle that this fight could be scripted.
The boxing community has been thrown into controversy after claims that Anthony Joshua went too far during his bout with Jake Paul. Critics argue that the physical toll on Paul was extreme, as he reportedly sustained serious facial injuries that required surgical intervention. Many analysts have condemned the pairing, stating that Joshua's strength and intensity created an unsafe situation. The aftermath has left spectators and professionals stunned, igniting renewed discussions about athlete protection and responsible matchmaking in major boxing events.
Away from the power, you could call it running, and you'll be right. You can also say it's smart for a guy Jake's size and understanding that AJ is a fucking monster. It's also smart to fight that way. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It was not.
Commentators Brian Campbell and Shaka Majui analyzed Jake Paul's matchup with Anthony Joshua, examining both the tactical choices and the physical consequences of the fight. They pointed out that Joshua's punching power resulted in substantial harm, including injuries severe enough to require surgical treatment to Paul's jaw. Throughout the bout, Paul depended largely on footwork and defense, moving constantly around the ring to stay clear of the ropes and avoid prolonged exchanges. Although this style lacked defensive pressure, it helped him last longer than many had predicted against an opponent of Joshua's caliber. The analysts noted that Paul's emphasis on movement and spatial awareness conserved his energy and limited some of the punishment, even though Joshua's strength still caused noticeable damage. Overall, they said the fight highlighted how defensive strategy can extend survival in the ring while also exposing the dangers of uneven matchups in major boxing events.
Could this be the end for him in terms of what he's doing in the boxing ring?
Listen, so long as people will tune in and so long as Jake Paul is paid by Netflix or any broadcaster to air his fights, we're going to see this continue. And Jake Paul knows his business model. Right now, this deviated, this AJ fight, which came together kind of last minute after the Tank Davis fight fell apart. But we know Jake Paul's MO here. It's find the most popular guy with the most physical disadvantages for me to fight. And Jake Paul has the benefit that he's turned himself into a villain, or in the pro wrestling circles, a heel. People tune in to watch. We did not tune into this fight to see competitive boxing. Most of us tuned in because we thought, here's Anthony Joshua. Here is a 2-time unified heavyweight champion, a guy who physically just overwhelms Jake Paul, and we're finally going to get what Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz were not physically fit, whether it be through their size, experience, or age to do, and that is knock out Jake Paul. And so, because I don't really feel like we got that satisfying comeuppance that a lot of people have been waiting for, it kind of gives Jake Paul a little bit of mystique, I'd almost say, to still try and string this along. Now, I don't know in terms, he says he wants to be cruiserweight champion. I'm not quite sure what the competitive road there is, because let's make no mistake, the reason this fight lasted as long as it did is because Jake Paul focused exclusively on being elusive. He did his best, and kudos to him, right? He did a great job of not getting cornered. He was always on the gas until the gas sort of fell out from underneath him. And so I don't quite know, short of leveraging his popularity, how he's going to get to that title shot if he's not actually going to fight, like really fight an elite boxer. But if he's looking to make money, there's the KSI fight out there. There's the Tommy Fury rematch. There is ways for Jake Paul to...
Former UFC title holder Michael Bisping gave a blunt response to Jake Paul's decisive loss against Anthony Joshua, calling the bout a clear demonstration of elite-level boxing. He stressed how wide the skill gap was, pointing to the accuracy, timing, and force behind Joshua's strikes. According to Bisping, Joshua's combinations, especially his uppercuts, kept Paul under constant pressure and revealed major flaws in his defense and overall game plan. He explained that the severe injuries Paul suffered, including a fractured jaw, stemmed from stepping in with an opponent who was larger, stronger, and far more experienced than anyone Paul had faced before. Bisping added that confidence and promotion could not substitute for years of high-level training, noting that Paul was unprepared for the technical demands and physical intensity of a top-tier heavyweight. Although Paul managed to endure the fight, Joshua's control and dominance made the difference in class unmistakable. Bisping concluded that the matchup served as a powerful reminder of the discipline, respect, and skill required at the highest levels of the sport.
In my humble opinion, because I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. Of course, I've been a supporter for the longest time. A rather lackluster, unmotivated Anthony Joshua that didn't look like he was being particularly nasty, right? A lot of the time he was out of range, and okay, it is hard to land a shot on someone that's backing up and moving away the whole time. And there was a lot of times where he had him in the corner and he could have thrown a shot. And sometimes he was telegraphing his shots. And anytime he did go in to throw a punch, as I said before, Jake Paul would shoot in and turn it into a wrestling match. And even when he wasn't shooting in, he was clinching a lot. This is boxing. It's not MMA, as we know. The referee should have done a much better job of getting in there and separating them much, much faster. As I say, it was the 6th round. I think it was the 4th round he got dropped twice. In the 5th round, he got through it. In the 6th round, caught him with the jab, a glancing right hook, he goes down, and that was that. That was all she wrote, right? I did a live, there was about 9,000 people watching at one point. Nobody was particularly enjoying the matchup. Listen, okay? I respect both men. I respect anyone really that steps into the ring, okay? And certainly going up against Anthony Joshua, that was a tall task, okay? You know, metaphorically and figuratively, right? It was a tall task. It was a big job. It was a tough opponent. It was a mismatch, and it was, right? Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last? Can he run away long enough to...
Following the highly publicized clash between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, reports indicated that both competitors were set to earn approximately $92 million each, placing the event among the most lucrative fights ever, with a global audience streaming it on Netflix. Despite the enormous figure, Joshua's earnings were significantly reduced by taxation. As a UK resident competing in the United States, he is liable for US federal taxes as well as British taxes on overseas income, a combination that could cut as much as $66 million from his payout. As a result, his final earnings are far lower than the headline number suggests. Meanwhile, Paul, who is based in the United States, does not face UK tax requirements, allowing him to retain a much larger share of his purse even though he lost the bout. This contrast illustrates how international tax laws can dramatically impact major fight earnings and shows why reported purses often don't reflect what fighters actually take home.
Has to pay, as you see here, a whopping $43 million. $43 million of his $92 million purse. That means Anthony Joshua was left with $49 million. Right? Now, he also has to pay, I believe, 10% of that to his promoter, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn.
Dominic Engel offered a frank assessment of Jake Paul's bout with Anthony Joshua, particularly in light of Paul's jaw injury. He explained that Paul's game plan centered on staying mobile and limiting exchanges rather than engaging in prolonged firefights, which made it harder for Joshua to trap him along the ropes. Engel noted that although Paul absorbed a heavy right hand, he showed toughness by continuing without hesitation. At the same time, he pointed out that Joshua never needed to operate at maximum intensity, as an 8-round fight against a less experienced opponent didn't require full pressure. According to Engel, Paul's skill level meant Joshua could remain measured and still dictate the contest. He drew a comparison to Tyson Fury's outing against Ngannou, suggesting that even top fighters may appear less dominant depending on who they are facing. Engel emphasized that boxers often perform to the standard set by their opponent rather than showcasing their absolute best. While Paul clearly felt Joshua's clean punches, he was able to endure the bout without being in serious jeopardy, reflecting both smart defense and a controlled pace throughout the fight.
I'm going to stand and fight, and AJ is not the best at closing people off, and it's hard chasing somebody down who don't want to engage, and then he tagged him every now and again. So
does it look bad on him because there's one right hook that he took was a serious shot, but obviously he didn't flinch from it, but the fact that
not really, because you'll take into consideration that you can get, there will be, look, there'll be no way. Well, Anthony Joshua thought, if he hits me, there's a possibility he's going to hurt me. I felt a couple of shots early on in the fight. There's no way Jake Paul at the level he's at, I know his box and what he's done, that he's, you know, and it's like AJ, like you say, he's got to have completely gone and be punch drunk for Jake Paul to beat him. After the last fight against Dubois, people think, oh, his jaw's gone there, he can't take a shot. Of course he can take a shot. And it's weighing up the opposition, and he weighed up the opposition, and he's not going to be training like he trained for Usyk or for the big fights. He won't do that because they can't get motivated enough to do it. They'll do enough to do the rounds. What was it, an 8-rounder?
Yeah.
So, same again. So he did enough. He never looked in any trouble. It didn't look great, you know, but Tyson Fury didn't look great against Ngannou, did he? But who did he box after Ngannou?
So Usyk?
Exactly. Yeah. But you would have never thought, looking at the performance against Ngannou with Tyson, you would never thought that he put in the performance he did against Usyk.
So you think it's more of a case of you kind of, no matter how good you are and how much you train, if the opposition isn't great, sometimes
you're going to box at the level of the opponent because the opponent makes you fight at that level.
That's quite a fair.
So, but when AJ did do what he got to and manages to...
He emphasized that lasting several rounds against a fighter of Anthony Joshua's level demanded mental toughness and grit, and the bout underscored the harsh realities of boxing, showing that publicity and confidence cannot substitute for elite experience. In the aftermath, Jake Paul's mother drew widespread attention after publicly lashing out at Anthony Joshua and promoter Eddie Hearn. She directed particular anger at Hearn, saying she was furious that he appeared relaxed while her son was taking heavy punishment in the ring. She accused both men of allowing the fight to continue longer than necessary, believing Jake absorbed damage that could have been avoided. Her reaction highlighted the deep emotional strain and protective instincts that come with watching a loved one compete in such a dangerous sport. While many fans and commentators viewed her response as excessive, others felt it was an understandable reaction given the physical toll of the fight and the risks posed by Joshua's power.
Punch Eddie Hearn, for instance. Yeah.
Why? Why Eddie Hearn?
Because I don't like his smug face.
You don't like his smug face?
No. Literally thinks he's better than everybody in the world.
Shit-eating grin. I said the exact. Bro,
Jake's over there, like, you know, struggling, and he's sitting over there smiling like the cat who swallowed the canary. Guess what? Did he fucking get in the ring?
Do you think he was happy with what happened to Jake?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my God.
Now, this is coming from a mother, too, guys. So I just want y'all to understand it. This is a mom. But at the end of the day, it's his job to laugh. Because, hell, I was laughing at Jake Paul. I can't even lie. I'm not a big Jake Paul fan. But, you know, part of the process. We got to report on this stuff. But Mama Paul, hella mad.
God, and that's sickening to me. It's sick. I don't like it. Even Anthony Joshua had some class and, you know, apologized to me.
Did he really?
Yeah. He worked his way through the crowd and came up to me and said, Mom, just no, it's just boxing.
He says it's the fight.
After the bout concluded, attention briefly turned to Logan Paul, who was seen having a tense exchange with Anthony Joshua outside the ring, appearing to challenge him face-to-face. At the same time, footage surfaced of Jake Paul in the hospital, clearly hurting as he received treatment for a fractured jaw sustained during the stoppage. The sharp contrast between Logan's assertive demeanor and Jake's fragile condition underscored the reality of facing a top-level heavyweight in the ring. While Logan's confrontation sparked conversation, fans and commentators agreed that the true focus remained on Jake's condition and the severe physical impact the fight had on him.
Should I say AJ fighting Logan Paul?
would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing or has trained with real boxing trainers in real boxes. Whereas Logan Paul, you know, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy. Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some two pieces with no sides, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake. It took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down, and he may break his jaw or face or orbital bone or something. Nose. Something is going to be broken when it...
Chris Algieri and Pauli Malignaggi offered a straightforward assessment of Jake Paul's bout with Anthony Joshua, making it clear how punishing the fight proved to be for Paul. They pointed to the serious injuries he suffered, including significant damage to his jaw and dental injuries, as evidence of the extreme physical cost of facing a top-tier heavyweight. The analysts explained that Joshua's accuracy and strength limited Paul's ability to move freely and revealed gaps in his defensive skills. Both emphasized that the matchup served as a serious warning about the risks involved when stepping into the ring against elite competition without comparable experience. Their commentary highlighted the harsh reality of the contest and the broader lesson it sends to anyone considering similarly dangerous pairings.
Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
What do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, it's just lack of experience. But when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either gonna fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked down in round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have got the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because you didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get knocked out? You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway. But you just prolonged the inevitable and you got no respect out of it now. Because nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you would totally content to steal money from everyone by running for your life for 8 rounds. And if you could have not engaged a single time in 8 rounds, that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to pull that off.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.